The mule's hooves plodded in a steady rhythm beneath me as our party rode through the dense evergreen trees. We'd been in the backcountry of southern Oregon for weeks now, searching for a supposed gold mine that either really didn't want to be found or simply didn't exist. Personally, I was starting to believe the latter, though for the sake of everyone's morale, I'd kept that thought to myself. Warm sun rays beamed through the thick canopy overhead, bathing everything in a green-gold light. Insects buzzed lightly in my ears. Their droning lullaby, paired with the stodgy tread of hooves and the warmth of the day, was enough to make my eyes grow heavy. It had been a long night at camp. A persistent bear that had been trying to break into our provisions had had the mules stirred up and anxious, and it hadn't done us any favors in getting a good night's sleep either. With no warning, my balance suddenly gave out and I pitched forward. Scrambling, my eyes shot open and I grabbed the mare's mane to get settled back in the saddle. She had stopped suddenly for some reason, and in my half-asleep state, I'd nearly gone over her shoulder. Blinking to get my wits about me, I looked around and my stomach lurched. She had stopped because we'd nearly stepped off the edge of a cliff. I gave her an appreciative pat. Good catch, old girl. I got a twitched ear and a huffed sigh in response. I looked around for the rest of the party, quickly spotting them several yards up the trail. We'd been lagging behind and they must not have noticed. Gathering up my reins, I sat up straighter and began to guide my mule to turn around when a sudden distant flash caught my eye. I looked around, squinting through the trees. At first, I thought my tired eyes were playing tricks on me as a large expanse of blue came into focus. But no, several blinks and a shake of my head, and it was still there. A beautiful, clear blue lake, stretching out before me. The water was a deep blue and reflected the fluffy clouds above and the surrounding mountain walls like the clearest glass. I couldn't help but stare and wonder. "Hey," I shouted up the trail. "Come back here. Come and look at this incredible lake." I'm Christiana.
And I'm Bree.
And I'm Allie.
Settle in and prepare to discover something breathtaking.
Because you're about to hear something strange.
Welcome to episode 53, The Strange History of Crater Lake.
Yay.
Yay! Welcome to Allie from Happy Labrador Studios, who has come on with us again today. She's been on a couple of our episodes before. We're very excited to have you.
Thank you.
And a huge shout out to everyone who voted in the Instagram poll. You guys wanted to hear about Crater Lake, so here we are.
Roxy has big feelings about it.
Roxy has very big feelings. She does not want to hear about Crater Lake.
She's like, I don't like water.
That's true. She says, don't put me on a boat.
We tried that once. She was not a happy camper.
You really wouldn't like this water, Roxy. So just a quick single trigger warning here. I'm not going to get into anything gory, but there is discussion of a helicopter crash in this one and plane crashes. Like I said, kind of brief overview of them, nothing too gory. I also wanted to give a little disclaimer here right at the beginning. A huge chunk of the information I got for this script came directly from my personal experience and visit to Crater Lake National Park. In particular, the trolley tour that you can take around the rim of the caldera.
Trolleys.
This one's pretty flat, so
that's what they want you to think.
Shout out to the tour guide and driver. Their names were Terry and Brian, and they were absolutely amazing. They were a wealth of information. I highly recommend, if you guys ever get out to Crater Lake, listeners and fellow recorders, definitely take the tour because it is incredibly, you learn so much, and it's a really, really good time. Do you guys know anything about Crater Lake? I don't think either of you have visited there before, correct?
I don't. I've heard of it. I don't know too much of it. I know there's like a theory that it was like an asteroid that formed it, or like a meteor crash or something. I've heard like a rumor or something like that. And of course I know about the old man.
Okay. Yep. We're definitely going to talk about the old man.
Mm-hmm.
It was the Fae.
It was the Fae. Yeah.
No, I know nothing about this.
So this is going to be fun. This is going to be a pretty light episode.
You say that.
You say that. We'll see how it goes. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about Crater Lake here. Crater Lake is the massive lake that is the heart of Crater Lake National Park. It's located at the top of Mount Mazama in the Cascade Mountain Range towards southern Oregon. The park itself is very, very remote. There is a lodge there where you can stay. I did not stay there. A gift shop, cafe, and a national park like ranger station there.
I love gift shops.
Yes. It's like a big kind of like combination gift shop cafe so that like you can have food while you're there. That's pretty much it. It's pretty out there. The lake itself is pretty circular. It's not like jagged around the edges or anything. It is in a caldera.
It's almost like it's in a crater.
It's almost like it's in a crater. And it is surrounded by thick green forest. It's known for its extremely beautiful and clear blue water. And I'm saying this like this is my own remembrance of this. It is genuinely it's not like the tropical blue that you see in like the Caribbean Ocean, but it is the deepest, beautiful royal blue water. I mean, it looks like it's out of a storybook. It's beautiful. And it's entirely natural that way. There's no additives or anything. That's just how the water is. It's also known for being the deepest lake in the United States, the second deepest lake in North America, and the seventh deepest lake in the entire world.
That's wild.
It is huge. It is very, very deep. The deepest part of the lake is 1,943 feet deep, which is over half a mile.
Wow.
So it is extremely, extremely deep. It's a well-known feature of the lake is the little island that lays towards one end called Wizard Island, and we'll talk about that too. Yeah.
Do you know about Lizard Island, Allie?
Are there wizards?
Alas, no wizards. I mean, maybe there are. I don't know.
That's false advertising.
We'll talk about it. So we'll get there. Don't you worry.
Put a pin in it.
So Crater Lake was formed via a volcanic eruption nearly 8,000 years ago. And it's not actually a crater. It is a caldera. And that was created when the top of the volcano blew off. Wizard Island is a small cinder cone volcano that has formed out of the lake since then.
It's an inception volcano because there's a volcano within a volcano.
Within a volcano.
Volception, if you will.
So we're going to talk about the formation in a little more detail here. 420,000 years ago, Mount Mazama started to form due to volcanic eruptions. These continuous eruptions caused the mountain to grow and grow and grow until it reached 12,000 feet at its peak. And you can see geological evidence of this in the different eruptions. There are rock rings around the caldera. And like basically whenever an eruption would occur, it would create another rock ring. So you can see where it formed. It's really cool.
It's like tree rings.
Yeah, it's like tree rings. These smaller eruptions continued for centuries. And this mountain just grew and grew and grew and grew before the massive eruption that did form the lake. So that happened 7,700 years ago in a two-phase eruption. The first phase shot rock and ash up into the air from a northeastern volcanic vent, and it started a pyroclastic flow down the side of the mountain, which basically means a flow of hot gases and other like volcanic material.
Do you guys feel like you're in like 9th grade earth science right now?
That's how I felt when I was like researching this. The next phase of the volcano, of the eruption, cracks started to open around the peak of the volcano, and that allowed the release of even more magma from the earth. It emptied that magma chamber, and then when all was said and done, Mount Mazama lost 12 to 15 cubic miles of organic material, mostly out of the northeast side. So it just blew, which is, I can't imagine that eruption of that scale. That's terrifying. So I mentioned in the second phase, the magma chamber started to empty. Eventually, that got very, very unstable, and the mountainside weakened and collapsed, and that caused that caldera to form. And then the lake formed after that because the caldera filled with snow melt and rainwater.
I imagine that took an incredibly long time.
Yes, yeah. This was not the end of the eruptions. Smaller eruptions after the big one, TM, formed Wizard Island. And that's, like I said, a little cinder cone volcano. You can take tours of Wizard Island and climb to the top of its cinder cone and even go down into the crater at the top of it if you want to. It doesn't hold like water up there or anything. I did not get to take the tour of we wanted to. So when I went out to Crater Lake, it was with my friend Kelly, who I have permission to say her name on the podcast. We missed the tour cutoff date by a day. We were like, dang it. Also, right now, as a heads up, I believe I was on the national park website for Crater Lake, doing my research. The only trail that goes down to the bottom of the caldera where you can reach the water's edge is closed. It's going to be closed. I think they want to reopen it in 2029. They're actually rebuilding the trail to make it a little easier to hike.
Oh, that's probably a good thing.
Yes, it's the Cleetwood Trail. And when I tell you, we did it. We went down to the water's edge. We couldn't take the boat tour, but we just went down to the edge. Oh boy, that was a steep one.
It was a doozy.
It was a bit of a doozy. It's a lot of switchbacks. Like, it's not just like straight up or straight down, because it would probably kill you. You would probably need climbing gear to do it because it's so steep if you just went straight down. But the switchback, going down wasn't so bad. Coming back up, oh boy. But if anyone decides they want to go visit in a couple years, they're going to once the trail's back open, they'll reopen the boat tours, presumably. The last eruption at the lake before things started getting pretty quiet was about 4,800 years ago at the base of Wizard Island. That being said, even though it's quiet, there's not a lot of concern of things like popping off now. It is still an active volcano. So I want to talk about the science of the lake, because this lake is just crazy. First of all, how did scientists discover how deep Crater Lake is? Measuring the depth of the lake was done by a process called sounding. This is when a weight is tied to the end of a line and lowered into the water until it touches the bottom, and then the rope is measured to see how deep the water is.
Need a lot of rope.
Yes, need a lot of rope. To figure out the maximum depth of the lake, the Crater Lake was sectioned into a grid pattern, and 168 sounding measurements were taken. The first one that they ever did measured 950 feet deep. So I mentioned earlier how blue the lake looks. This is due to light refraction. The sun hits the water and reflects back blue and some green colors, and the deeper the light penetrates, the darker it appears. I also mentioned how pure the water is at Crater Lake, and it is one of the cleanest, clearest, and purest lakes in the world. Water clarity is measured using a device called a Secchi disc. The disc is lowered into the water with a rope until it can't be seen anymore, and then raised until it can be seen. The rope is then marked and measured to determine how clear the water is. The deepest the Secchi disc could be seen in Crater Lake was 144 feet deep. You could still see it that deep. In August of 1988, a one-man submersible was used to study the bottom of Crater Lake, and according to the tour guides on the trolley tour I took, the sub had a flag attached to a rope that ran to the surface. So there was like a surface crew. I'm assuming they were in like a boat, and that like the flag was tied to that rope about 10 feet above the sub, and then the boat crew could see that flag coming up through the water, and they'd say, oh, the sub is coming up soon. It was kind of their warning signal. According to the trolley tour, at one point, the submersible pilot got to the deepest part of the lake and turned everything off. He turned all the lights off, and he looked up and he could still see the flag, like
wow,
the shadow of it waving. The story's a little bit different. According to Crater Lake Institute, pilot of the submarine was at 1,200 feet deep, and when he turned the power off, and he could still make out the light filtering through to him. So either way, you're really, really deep, and you can still see daylight.
I have the Yellow Submarine song by the Beatles in
Yes.
my head.
Also, for me, the idea of going into a submarine in the first place is terrifying. You're just sitting under half a mile of water with all the lights off. No, thank you.
Allie says no.
Yeah, no, I don't do submarines.
You don't live in a Yellow Submarine?
I'll live in a yellow submarine if it's on land. That's fair.
I'm
That's
afraid of the open ocean, so
100% fair.
A land submarine. Is that just a bus?
Yeah, probably. Another example of how pure this water is. So I said you can take boat tours out to Wizard Island. I think they do boat tours, or at least they used to do boat tours of the lake. The boats will stop in the middle of the lake and allow you to fill your water bottle from the lake, and you can just drink it.
Wow.
Like, it is so pure that you can drink it without any issues. You can also swim in Crater Lake, but you're only allowed to wear a swimsuit and no other gear. You're not allowed to like snorkel or scuba dive in the lake because they don't want to introduce anything into the lake that could harm it if you've snorkeled in other places and your gear isn't clean, type of thing. But the water is definitely pretty chilly. The surface is about 55 to 60 degrees, but at the very bottom it drops to 38 degrees. So at this point, you might be wondering, how does the lake maintain its water level? Because unlike other lakes, there is no stream or river or other water source that flows into or from this lake. Despite heavy rain and snow melt, the lake level very rarely varies. It's consistently within 3 to 4 feet of normal at all times. And this is due to a feature of the caldera called the Palisades. These are cliffs covered in green moss, where a glacier created very loose rock and gravel. If the water rises high enough, it seeps through this gravel area. Trolley Tour said about 2 million gallons per hour, and that keeps the lake level. We're not really sure where the water goes. There's one theory that believes the water could be draining into an aquifer or an old underground magma chamber. A more widespread theory is the drained water forms all the rivers nearby. There is a hitch to this theory because the nearby river water doesn't match the lake water. Like, when they've looked at it, presumably under a microscope and done other tests, the two different types of water don't match. And their thoughts there is that it could be that the filtration process changes the water.
It goes to a magical land underneath the lake.
Yeah.
Are there any reports of cryptid critters in the lake besides the old man?
I believe there are stories of. I didn't go too deep into this because I was already.
Was that a pun?
10. Yeah. I was already low key 10 pages into my script. I don't think they're super common.
They're just rare. Also, I know the old man is not a cryptid.
We'll talk about
it. They're just chilling. They come up once in a while.
There are. They put the brush and logs into piles that are called Sasquatch dens.
I love that.
So I think Bigfoot would probably love it there. This is probably going to be Bigfoot's vacation home.
Maybe. Is there any are there fish?
We'll talk about it.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I actually want to get into a little bit of a discussion of the indigenous people of Southern Oregon and their relationship to Crater Lake. The native Klamath tribes around Crater Lake have a very deep history with Mount Mazama and the lake itself. The tribes are descendants of the Makalak people. These tribes have lived in the area for around 13,000 years, meaning they would have been there to witness the massive eruption of Mount Mazama and the formation of this lake.
That's wild.
That's terrifying. So scary.
It's like Pompeii, but not.
Yeah, it really is.
Hey, but mostly everyone lives.
Hopefully, yeah. Yeah.
True.
It's not believed that these tribes lived at Crater Lake per se, but it was possibly a temporary place to camp. And it was seen as a holy place. Only holy people were really meant to visit the lake. One article I read stated that even today, some natives will not look at Crater Lake because the legend goes that looking at the lake will bring death. Hopefully not, because I dip my toes in it. I have water. Fun fact, I have water. I took a little bottle of it home.
Are you supposed to? Because I know there's some places where if you take things from it, you're supposed to, you get cursed.
I didn't hear anything about that.
So if looking at it means death, does that mean dipping your toes in is a baptism of death?
Maybe.
Did you accidentally join a new religion?
Who would that be? Hades?
Depends on the religion.
Hades is my favorite Disney princess, so
I would think it'd be one of the native people's religions that you're accidentally joining.
That's true. Maybe.
Are there
Sorry,
any
y'all.
caves? You know, you like caves.
There are caves in the area. Yeah. Some of them are. I don't know much about this, so this is kind of like me just flying off the. I think some of it was glacier formed as well, because there were definitely glaciers there that helped form parts of the caldera and along with the volcanic eruptions. There is a native legend of how Crater Lake was formed. The most popular of these legends tell the story of two gods, Lao, who was the chief of the underworld and spirit of the mountain.
That's whose religion you just joined.
That's who's, yes, I did. And Skell, the chief of the above world and spirit of the sky. So the legend goes that Lao had left his home under the mountain and was walking one day when he saw a beautiful woman. This woman turned out to be the Makalak chief's daughter. Lao decided he was in love with this woman and asked her to come live with him, with the offer to grant her eternal life if she would agree. She said no. She said, no, thank you, sir.
No, thank you.
He didn't like that answer. He got really mad and threatened to hurt her people. And he stood at the top of Mount Mazama and violently threw fire down on the tribe. He might have violently thrown people. I don't know. So Lao was standing at the top of Mount Mazama and was violently throwing fire down on this tribe. Skell, on the other hand, saw this happening, and he took a stand on what is now Mount Shasta in California.
Oh, there's supposed to be all kinds of spooky stuff that happened there.
Yeah.
That's where your Watcher friends are from, right?
My Watcher friends?
The Watchers. They're Teddy's Watcher friends.
Yeah, I was like...
The dark... Yeah. The Colts on Stilts.
Yes, Colts on Stilts.
That's a deep cut.
We'll have to... It is a deep cut. We'll have to do an episode on that, because I'd be curious to see from that point of view, too. But Skell took a stand on Mount Shasta, and he was trying to defend these tribes, and the two gods fought back and forth from the top of the two mountains. Eventually, Skell was able to force Lao back down into the underworld, and he then collapsed the mountain on top of him and filled the collapsed mountain with water for good measure to prevent him from returning. Some versions of the story say it was all the tears of people who were hurt that filled the hole, which is very sad.
I think you accidentally joined this person's religion.
Whoops. Mm-hmm. Is Lao going to come for me? Maybe. Also, to be clear, friends, I feel like I should say I had heard, taken the trolley tour before taking the trail down to the water's edge, and they had mentioned about how people are allowed to fill their water bottle from the boat. So that is why I felt okay to take water. I promise I wasn't pilfering stuff from the national park.
I know, I was just teasing you.
No, it's okay. I just didn't want anyone to be like, So that is the, and I just thinking about what this volcanic eruption looked like, because we've talked about multiple times now on this podcast about how legends and stories are created for people to understand the world around them. And just, I can imagine this volcano erupting absolutely looked like two gods fighting with each other. How scary. And the ash cloud had to have spread so far. It probably easily would have spread into what is now California. So eventually, Crater Lake was found by the first non-native person in 1853. This was during the gold rush, and the story that I told in the beginning is kind of a whimsied version of this. That they actually said on the trolley tour, a gentleman that we're about to talk about was riding his mule and fell asleep on top while he was riding, and the mule stopped at a cliff face, and that's when he discovered. I don't know how 100% true that is, but it was true that John Hillman and a group of men were searching the wilds of Oregon for a lost gold mine during the gold rush of 53. The mine was never found, but John and two other men found this beautiful, stunning, gorgeous lake at the location that's now known as Discovery Point. And they were amazed at how blue the water was. And one of the miners aptly named it Deep Blue Lake. They did spread the word of their beautiful discovery, but the long trip back, the long trip to get there and the lack of gold prospects led to the lake essentially being forgotten about for the time being, except for by the people who actually live there. Just under a decade later, another group of prospectors traversed the Cascade Mountain Range and quote unquote rediscovered the lake. And one of these men wrote a short description of the lake that was later published in a newspaper. And this was the first written account of what would become Crater Lake. So she's starting to get more well-known. In 1863, the military site Fort Klamath was built due to rising hostilities between colonials, my source read settlers, I'm calling it what it is, and the indigenous persons. the building of this fort necessitated the building of a wagon road to get the supplies and personnel to and from the fort. As this road was being constructed, the lake was once again, quote unquote, rediscovered. This time by two men who were in a hunting party for the building crew. And at this time, the first non-native person, Sergeant Orson Steems, actually climbed down into the caldera to reach the lake. These men rechristened it Lake Majesty. So tales of this immensely beautiful landmark were starting to spread. Jim Sutton, a newspaper editor, decided in 1869 he needed to see this place for himself. But he wanted to take things a step further. He actually wanted to launch a boat on the lake to explore. And the image of this is hilarious to me because I told you guys earlier about the trail to get down there. They would have had no trail. So, like, how they managed this without killing themselves is beyond me.
They just, like, got in the... You've seen the Princess Diaries?
Yes.
Where they, like, go down the stairs and
Yeah,
on the
on the mattress. They just mattress surf the caldera.
They mattress surf the caldera.
They did.
That's just what happened.
That's canon now. Sutton and his crew were the first white explorers to reach the small island on the lake. I specify white explorers because it's not sure if the indigenous peoples had visited the island. There's no documentation of it saying whether they had or had not. That doesn't mean they hadn't. Sutton would go on to publish another article in his own newspaper about the lake, and he gave it a new name, Crater Lake. And that name has stuck around to this day. At this point, Crater Lake was still not a national park, but one man, William Gladstone Steele, would be the one to change that. William Steele first learned about Crater Lake after reading a newspaper article about it, and he was hooked right away. He was absolutely fascinated, but it would take him another decade and a half before he would be able to actually see the lake with his own two eyes. But once he saw that beautiful blue water, it was safe to say he completely fell in love. He decided right then and there this place needed to be preserved as a national park, and it became his mission in life. Steele actually helped to map the lake in 1886, and he also named the island on the lake Wizard Island because it reminded him of a wizard's hat. And the crater at the top he named Wizard Cauldron.
It's a little anticlimactic. I was hoping for actual magic.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of interesting because occultism and what's the word I'm looking for here? Not surrealism.
Spiritualism?
Spiritualism, thank you. Was very popular during this time, and he was trying to name these things after things people would get excited about. So like Wizard Island, Wizard's Cauldron, oh, come out and see the Wizard Island. Like, he was trying to get people excited about this because he really wanted this place to be preserved. His crusade to officially have Crater Lake named a national park was long and arduous. He came up against resistance from sheep farmers. This information I got out of a PDF online it's from Crater Lake National Park, one of the information brochures.
Did you say sheep farmers?
Sheep farmers.
Okay,
Yep.
just making sure I heard you right.
Yep. Like I said, there wasn't much information about the brochure. It kind of just glanced on it. I'm assuming these herders were like allowing their sheep to graze on the mountain. We kind of talked about that in Chincoteague a little bit, the Chincoteague episode. But he also came up against miners who thought this place could have gold or, other resources. However, Steele would absolutely refuse to be deterred. He pestered anyone who would listen about the lake, and he worked tirelessly to help push legislation to turn his dream into a reality. It took him 17 years of hard work, but eventually Steele's persistence paid off, and Teddy Roosevelt, president at the time, finally declared Crater Lake the USA's sixth national park on May 22nd of 1902. So you asked about fish earlier. It could be argued that if it weren't for William Steele, Crater Lake National Park wouldn't exist. He did, unfortunately, however, make a crucial mistake in his efforts that scientists are still fighting to correct to this day. Any guesses, friends?
I already saw the thing.
Okay.
He introduced an invasive species by accident.
Yep, pretty much. Part of trying to make the lake into a national park was to make it into a recreational lake. Again, trying to draw in visitors. So what do you do in a lake? You fish. However, there was a problem. Crater Lake didn't have any fish in it. There were no natural fish in this lake. or native fish in this lake. Probably because it was made of rainwater and snow melt versus an outside water source. Steele thought, oh, I'll fix this by simply just throwing some fish in there, which he started doing in 1888. Fish stocking did continue up into 1941, so this continued for a while. But there was another problem because the fish died really fast. They had nothing to eat.
So there was no vegetation either.
Yeah, not really. There was just nothing for them. So what do you do then? You stock the lake with fish food. Crayfish were stocked for fish to eat, and they thrived.
What do crayfish eat?
I think they eat like
I'm not really. I mean, they're crustaceans, so they probably eat like algae and
stuff like that. Yeah. They didn't have any natural predators because, again, we're introducing an invasive species, non-native species, into an area where they shouldn't be. And their population blew up. They thrived a little too well. They completely overtook the shoreline, and they actually began overtaking a species called the Mazama newt. The Mazama newt is a relative of the rough-skinned newt, which can also be found in this area. But the thing about Mazama newts are they literally are only found at Crater Lake. They are not found anywhere else. So the crayfish nearly wiped this species out. And attempts like to this day are still being made to fix this problem. There were actually 19 Mazama newts trapped and taken to the Portland Zoo, and they are working with another zoo to try and put together a breeding program to save the species. So this is a problem that's literally had consequences decades later. Attempts have been made to minimize the crayfish population. They're not really working out so well. At one point, the attempt was made to trap and remove all the crayfish from the lake, but only the adult crayfish were trapped. And this caused the problem to get worse because, fun fact, crayfish eat their young. And when the adult crayfish were gone, it caused a population boom. So it's really unfortunate. Like, it's not funny, but it's also like, damn. A solution to the fish and crayfish problem at Crater Lake has still yet to be found to this day. It is something that is actively monitored and attempts to control it. Like, it's just something they try. It's just something that's very actively controlled as much as they can. And it was said on the trolley tour, the only way to certainly remove like 100% the wildlife would be to poison the lake. And they were like, that is never going to happen. We are never going to do that. So moral of the story here is don't release random animals into the wild. You will actively harm or even destroy the ecosystem.
Can I offer a solution?
Yes.
Capture and eat them.
Today, yeah, there are two species of fish that have survived at Crater Lake, which are rainbow trout and kokanee salmon. And you can fish at Crater Lake. There are strict rules with it. For one, all fishing is catch and keep. You cannot re-release the fish because they're trying to get rid of them. And no live bait is allowed to be used. You cannot use live bait because they are trying to prevent any new species from being. So more than likely, I mean, don't quote me for gospel on this, friends. Don't come at me if you do this and get in trouble. You could probably trap as many crawdads as you wanted at Crater Lake and take them home and eat them, and they'd probably be fine with it.
I was just saying, like, local restaurants have like a crawdad night.
Yes. Oh, fun. You know what? Actually, you made me remember on the trolley tour, they made that joke. I'm not kidding, guys. If you guys get out to Crater Lake, you guys as well as listeners, please take this trolley tour. The guides are incredible. Incredible. Crater Lake is also, unfortunately, does have some darker history associated with it. The water is so bright and clear that its reflection of the sky can create a mirror-like image that can become disorienting if you try to fly over it. One incident like this potentially is thought to have occurred in the 1940s during World War II. This involved two Grumman TBF torpedo bomber planes. They were flying over Crater Lake in 1944, and one pilot looked around to try and find the other one, only to find that the guy had vanished along with his plane. It's thought that the plane might have gone down in the lake. That being said, there were no witnesses that actually saw the plane crash into the lake, so it's not certain that that's actually what happened, but there's a fair chance it did. There was another tragedy fairly recently in 1995 when a helicopter pilot, George W. Causey, flew down into the caldera with a passenger, Edward O. Tulliners. The helicopter flew directly into the lake and everyone died instantly, or presumably pretty instantly. And this was actually witnessed by several people. Apparently, the helicopter kind of flew over the caldera wall down in towards the surface of the lake and was circling around Wizard Island and kind of slowly just started to descend. And we don't know for certain because we can't ask, of course, but the theory behind this is that the pilot just got completely disoriented because that water is such a mirror and he just literally thought he was ascending, but he was descending. The crash did create an oil slick from the jet fuel aboard the craft. Thankfully, that is no longer harming the ecosystem. There was no recovery. The parts, and I believe I was reading, they have done like sonar or like scans of the lake to try and find parts. And I think it just like, they can't even find parts of the craft. Like, it's just gone. So do not fly over Crater Lake. Also, as I was researching that section, do not put drones in the sky. It is a no-fly zone. So do not put drones out there either. You will get in trouble. So we're going to get to what is my favorite part of this episode. And this is a good wrap up here. Some of you listening to this may have been waiting impatiently for me to talk about one of the most famous pieces of Crater Lake lore, which is the Old Man of the Lake. He is also known as the Keeper of the Lake. And what is he? He's a 30-foot long mountain hemlock tree log that free floats around the lake. What's so special about a log floating in the lake? He bobs around vertically like a cork, rather than horizontally. Yes. I was literally just about to go, yeah. Like, he just bobs around, just vertically floating along the lake. Nothing has been found on the bottom of this log that would cause it to float vertically like this. It's not like, as far as they can tell, that he's heavier on one side or the other. The top part of the log sticks up about 4 feet above the water, 3 to 4 feet. And why does he float vertically? Not a clue. There are theories. Some have thought that the wood has increased in density at the bottom due to being underwater for so long in that cold water. Some think there might be like a root structure that had started to form at the base that would make it heavier, that makes him float like that. Some think it has to do with the moss growing on the sides of the log, but we really just don't know. We have no idea. What we do know is his age. Scientists have carbon dated the old man to be over 450 years old. In 1986, geologist Joseph Diller discovered this strange old log. And later, in 1938, naturalist John Doerr tracked him for 3 months straight in the summer. His findings showed that the old man would travel around the lake, and he reached a distance of 62 miles by the end of the 3 months. And sometimes it did appear that he was floating against the wind. So he literally just does whatever he wants. He's a whole vibe. I love him. On boat tours of the island, they don't do this anymore, but I actually have a postcard that has a picture of this. Rangers used to pull up next to the old man if they found him, and they would get out of the boat and actually like stand on him for people to take pictures. I do have a picture of this on a postcard. It's pretty cool. So it's all fun and games until you try to mess with him. Don't mess with the old man. Earlier, I talked about the submersible that was brought to the lake in the late 80s to explore the bottom. And when they brought this submersible in, the researchers were concerned about their safety as well as the safety of the old man. Because if they were cruising around in this sub and they hit him, that could be a problem for everyone involved. So to try and avoid this, they tied the old man to the bank of Wizard Island just so the researchers could move forward with their dive. The old man did not appreciate this. He said, no, thank you. So very soon after this, like almost immediately, a major storm blew in that made conditions literally impossible to launch the submarine. it completely delayed this scientific investigation. Like they couldn't do anything. I'm not sure if it was the scientists or if it was some park rangers, but they got a little sketched out and they thought, we think the old man's angry. So, and I don't know exactly when this happened, but I'm going to tell the whimsified version of the story because I would like to believe. Under cover of night, these rangers snuck down to the bank of Wizard Island and they untied him because they were like, this dude's mad. So they untied him, they released him back into his home, and almost immediately after, once he was released, the storm blew out and the submersible was able to make its trip. No problems.
So what you're saying is he's basically like the toddler of the lake.
He is. He's the guardian of the lake.
He does what he wants, and if you try to like force him into one space, he just throws a huge tantrum.
He is going to pitch a fit of weatherly proportions.
Magic. He's like the fish in the
Stitch.
fish that controls the weather.
Pudge controls the
Pudge,
weather.
yeah. It's like Pudge.
He is. I did not, alas, get to see the old man. We tried. We literally just drove around the rim of the caldera looking down in, trying to see him, and we didn't see him, but he did not bless us with his presence. But I love him. I'm actually, for anyone who's actually watching this episode on YouTube instead of listening, I'm going to lean towards the camera here. You can actually see I bought this shirt at Crater Lake. Oh, there we go. And it's a picture of the old man, and it says, you can't keep a good log down. And you can't, because he will get angry and make a storm happen. So to end this episode, I want to share a fact I found on the National Park Conservation Association website. You could stack the Eiffel Tower, this is a direct quote, you could stack the Eiffel Tower, the Statue of Liberty, and Washington Monument beneath the old man and still not reach the lake's deepest point of 1,943 feet. Just to give you an idea of how deep this lake is. I looked at that and I said, that's not real. And I Googled it, and I Googled all the heights of these things, and I added them up on my own calculator, and it is correct. The Eiffel Tower, the Washington Monument, and the Statue of Liberty could all be stacked one on top of the other at the deepest part of the lake and not break the surface of the water. That's terrifying. I was like, I didn't need to read that before going to bed. So that is the strange history of Crater Lake. And I know it's a little bit different of an episode than we normally do, but I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yes, it was fun. Do you have thoughts?
I do not. I said all my thoughts.
I know. I feel we were pretty good at saying them during the episode.
Yeah. I like the old man.
I love him. Mm-hmm. I love him.
He's a cool guy.
I want to give him a little smooch.
He might not like that.
I did hug trees when I was in California. I'm not going to lie. I hugged a lot of redwood trees. I kissed one too.
As long as they didn't hug you back, it's probably fine.
They didn't. I did not get Dorothy of Oz, thankfully. Did not get.
But they probably enjoyed it though.
Yeah.
They probably loved it.
I was like, look at these big old trees. They've been here for freaking hundreds of years. They need a hug.
Yeah.
I said, this is my tree hugging ass. I'm a druid.
It's okay.
Should we go on to questions?
So what drew you to this topic?
So Crater Lake was just such a beautiful place, and I learned so much on the trolley tour that I wanted to just talk about. Like, again, this was a bit of a different episode, but just even how clear the water is and how blue the water is, and like just the basic science behind this lake is weird in a very fun way, and I just wanted to talk about it.
Was there anything you wished you could have researched more into?
Not necessarily. I do want to go again and check out Wizard Island because I wasn't able to do that the first time, and I feel like that's more research.
There you go.
I want to go into the crater.
What did you find the most strange about this topic?
Two things. How clear the water is, because that is just... I saw it with my own two eyes, and I still cannot believe how clear that water is. And the old man. I also have a theory. I think he's Skell.
Oh, maybe.
Like, he's making sure... Like, he's got to protect the lake. He's got to make sure Lau doesn't come back.
That's true. That's why he controls the weather.
That's why he controls the weather. Yep.
I agree with that.
I was like, oh, I'm theorying over here.
I'm still stuck on the fact that crawfish eat their young.
Fair. That's a very strange fact too. Guys, don't introduce species into the wild that shouldn't be there.
It's one of those things where in my mind, I'm just sitting there thinking like humans were just like, oh yeah, we came up with a great solution, and then they just realized they just Uno reversed.
Yeah.
Like it just backfired on them like heavily.
I know. I feel bad like for William Steele because he's probably like he loved this lake so much. He was so passionate and he wanted so badly to have this lake preserved, and he's probably just sitting in the afterlife like, ooh, whoops,
Oh no.
whoops.
No.
It's okay, buddy. It's okay. We didn't understand things back then the way we do now. It's okay.
Crawfish they
It's an
were.
honest mistake. You were doing your best.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a suggestion for a strange or mysterious topic, a comment about an episode, or just want to chat, please reach out.
You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, and YouTube. Comment directly on our episodes over at Spotify and YouTube, or review our podcast as a whole on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or both if you're feeling so inclined.
Find us on Instagram at something_strange_pod and on Facebook at Something Strange Podcast. You can also check out our strange content on our YouTube channel at something_strange_pod. We'd love it if you'd subscribe.
If none of that suits your fancy, you can send us a Gmail at somethingstrangepod24@gmail.com, and the 24 is numeric. Well, strangers, it's time for us to part ways.
Until we meet again, respect the old man.
We'll be back again soon with another
Something strange.
Yay! Like give me the microphone, doesn't it?
I was just like,
Every episode is a paranormal road trip where the GPS stopped working 5 minutes in.
If it bumps in the night or lurks in your basement, we probably already talked about it.
We're best friends, lifelong weirdos, and your guides through the haunted, the spooky, and the just plain cursed.
From cryptids to cursed objects, haunted history to haunted hairbrushes.
And probably a haunted dollar too along the way.
This is Not My Ghost, Not My Problem. Subscribe now.
Regret it later.
Blame the ghost.